Why exactly is it a bombshell? That's not my word. That is the words from the mainstream media and the leftists. Why exactly is it a bombshell that Fox News hosts and Don Jr. were texting Mark Meadows, that was Trump's chief of staff, obviously, were texting Mark Meadows on January 6th to tell President Trump to denounce the violence that was happening at the Capitol? How exactly is this a bombshell? I'm sincerely curious how this is a bombshell. So the January 6th committee, which of course is Pelosi's little sham committee, she's calling it bipartisan, but it's not really bipartisan because Pelosi rejected McCarthy's appointments of which conservatives he would like to sit on that committee. And Pelosi picked herself which Republicans in name only, rhinos, she would like to sit on the committee. So she picked Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. So this committee is a sham to begin with. She reads the text messages that were sent to Mark Meadows on January 6th out loud and pretends or portrays these text messages to be this smoking gun, this bombshell, this indictment on President Trump and everyone who was in his orbit on January 6th. And these are the text messages that she read out loud. Take a listen to this.
These text messages leave no doubt the White House knew exactly what was happening here at the Capitol. Members of Congress, the press, and others wrote to Mark Meadows as the attack was underway. One text Mr. Meadows received said, quote, "We are under siege here at the Capitol." Another, quote, "They have breached the Capitol." In a third, Mark, "Protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows on doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something?" A fourth, "There's an armed standoff at the House chamber door." And another from someone inside the Capitol, "We are all helpless." Dozens of texts, including from Trump administration officials, urged immediate action by the president. Quote, "POTUS has to come out firmly and tell the protesters to dissipate. Someone is going to get killed." In another, "Mark, he needs to stop this now." A third, in all caps, "Tell them to go home." A fourth, and I quote, "POTUS needs to calm this down." Indeed, according to the records, multiple Fox News hosts knew the president needed to act immediately. They texted Mr. Meadows, and he has turned over those texts. Quote, "Mark, the president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy," Laura Ingraham wrote. "Please get him on TV. Destroying everything you have accomplished," Brian Kilmeade texted. Quote, "Can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol," Sean Hannity urged. As the violence continued, one of the president's sons texted Mr. Meadows, quote, "He's got to condemn this ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough," Donald Trump Jr. texted.
Okay, so then, like I said, the word bombshell is not my word. If you look at this headline from the Daily Beast on the screen here, or for those listening, I'll read it. This is what the Daily Beast said. A bombshell was dropped in Monday's January 6th committee hearing. It was revealed that Donald Trump Jr., along with Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham, begged White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to get Trump to make a national address and halt the Capitol riots. Again, their words, a bombshell. A bombshell. Why? Why is this a bombshell? What about this is a bombshell? I'm looking for the reason that makes this a bombshell, because to me, when I read this, when I hear these text messages and see in what context they were sent to President Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, it seems to me, doesn't this exonerate all of these conservatives who for the past almost year now have bore the brunt of false accusations that they either helped organize or refused to condemn or somehow incited the violence that happened at the Capitol on January 6th. So doesn't this exonerate these conservatives who face these false accusations that they encouraged what was going on? And then after these text messages were sent, showing that behind the scenes, they were wanting this to stop. Now, behind the scenes is particularly important here because you can always say one thing publicly and then another thing privately. Sometimes your private communications are more illustrative of what you actually think, especially when you're in the political realm. So privately, when these people weren't worried about their images, when they were just worried about what was going on, they said, stop the violence. We don't want this to happen. I condemn this violence. This is not good. These fringe people are making us look bad, making us, meaning all of Trump voters, the entire conservative movement, look bad, because that's what it was, of course. It was fringe elements who committed violence. It was not the majority of the people who were at President Trump's rally that day. It was not the majority of the people who had an issue with election integrity. It was not the majority of the people who voted for Trump. No. Fringe elements were violent. And so these conservative personalities, television personalities, and President Trump's own son said behind the scenes to Mark Meadows, have the president do what he can to tell these people to stop. Let's condemn this. Let's get away from it. Otherwise, it's going to ruin the legacy of what President Trump was and undo everything good that he did. This to me is actually reflects positively on these people.